I mentioned the libertarians as more stand-up than your typical elected Republican. And here's 3 reasons why. 1, it is our nature. Number 2, though, we don't have a party orthodoxy that we have to follow. Democrats in Congress, as soon as they get elected, even a well-meaning Stewart who gets there, well, he's going to be come down by Chuck Schumer and his henchmen. You will vote this way, or you will not get committee assignments. You will vote this way, or you won't be seeing any love back and not get reelected. On the Republican side, it's more of an orthodoxy thing, but it's still this is the way. Libertarians don't have that constriction. Also, the big parties are constrained. If they don't vote certain ways, they don't have donors any longer. Well, now we don't have big donors in the first place, unfortunately, but it's not a constraint on us. Voters need not worry that a libertarian is going to get co-opted by the Borg. All right, I said I was going to talk about winning not in November, but in December. And I want people to recognize it's not the Lars Who strategy. I don't think we get any electoral votes in November, but I think we could get 25 to 30% of the votes. And look what that does. Electors, those 538, have the ability to play conscience, maybe by contract with their campaign, maybe by state law, which is probably unconstitutional, but fines you at most $1,000. Electors are humans who are malleable. 6 of them defected in 2016. Colin Powell got 3 votes without being on the ballot. 3 electors for Colin Powell. There are 3 others that went away. We, the libertarians, using a bombardment of polls after the election, who would you really like to see? And I suspect our candidate will be, as certainly if we have a ranked choice voting poll privately, will be number 1, or will maybe be a strong second in almost every state. So all we need is 1 or 2, maybe 6 or 7 electors. We need to come in third. It can be a distant third. If you get that, you are in the House if the House is invited. Now, my strategy is to go after 112 of them. We should be campaigning in New York and California and Florida, maybe 1 other state, but those are big. And Lars's idea of let's go after these little outlier areas. I've talked to him enough that he wants to go after everyone as well. Okay, but I don't want to be seen as we're after these little bum places, bumpkin is the better word, that make it kind of laughable. Oh, what are all these Lars minions doing in the corner of Maine or the corner of Nebraska? When those same people could be in California where there is media, including some renegade media, somebody that doesn't report on us, where there's donors in California. And with or without ballot access, I still think we should go for New York. Go after Florida as well. And that's 112 electoral votes. Now you have a split that more likely gets one candidate from getting that 270. Now you're in the House with third place. We, in third place, suborn electors legally, by hook or by, I won't say the word crook. I believe in doing things within the rules, but exploiting the rules. We have enough bright people to do that. To use a movie phrase from John Fuld, be either first, be smarter, or cheat. We don't cheat, but we use rules in place. And one of those rules, or there's nothing wrong with telling an elector, we're going to make public any of the peccadillos that you might be hiding, that you're embarrassed by, unless you do the right thing. And the peccadillos, look, I've seen some of Trump's past elector names, and I know that there is the trifecta among them collectively of infidelity, cheating business partners, and, tax evasion. Sound familiar? I mean, Trump's committed all three. You don't think the apple falls that far from the delegates he selects? There's going to be some. Biden's, it applies more to his nuts. Because the kind of people that he's probably including among his delegate selections includes some weird, depraved people. He's nominated them to federal positions. And so one problem is the Democrats are usually not very embarrassed over their weirdness. But to the extent they might be, we come at them with somewhat threats, but the goodness of saying we have better. And the popular polling would show that we have better. You get into third place in the House, especially if it's a House that includes some newly elected libertarians. And that goes back to why we should be putting a lot of emphasis on congressional races that our candidates are committed to here. Why we should be seeking more candidates. Remember, I'm the candidate who wants big people. I want NFL quarterbacks who are principled enough, not steeped in liberty like we are, but who will use us when they need guidance. We become the horse whisperers to Dan Marino, Joe Montana, Roger Staubach. They're bright guys who are all conservative and loved. We don't have anyone like that yet. Let's start recruiting. So, could a House vote, which, by the way, is not defined in the Constitution as having the number of people. The Constitution does not say how the delegations in a House vote would go. Last time it happened was 200 years ago in 1824. We do know that each state has one vote and only one vote. No difference between California's delegation and Delaware's delegation. So, it's possibly in play. I want us to think big. In the process of thinking big, even if you fall short of a humongous, hairy goal, you've moved yourself higher. And as some other people said, there's pretty much only up. Go big. We have a chance to get there. Of all times, 2024, it's not going to be, if it's not now, with the most reviled candidate in history, or maybe at least since 1864, and that depends if you even count southern states who had seceded and their sentiments for Lincoln. Take that off, Donald Trump is the most reviled candidate in history. We should be able to exploit that. Joe Biden is the most repressive candidate in history. He is the United States Joseph Stalin. And I've said that we should be cleaving the Republicans first. They're due for a breakup. They've been slowly breaking up for 90 years. So it's their doing, not us so much. But once done, if we can pull away a lot of electors from Donald Trump's otherwise victorious set, then we go after the Democrats with the values that so many of us have, that traditional Democrats, not the leftists, but the traditional Democrats, which I believe still inhabit the majority of voters, that we end up making sure that we do this. Okay, that we go after the traditional no war, no draft, and then add to it, no income tax. Everyone should like that, unless you are a repressive or maybe an accountant. I'm Mark Stewart. Thanks for listening here. Have a good weekend.